Okay, here we have lesson 1 of measurement. And so this is the first lesson in your workbook, and it's broken into 2 parts. So this is the first part of lesson 1. So we're going to review unit conversions, and that's the part of measurement that we're going to look at first. And it's the intro to this unit. This unit we're going to cover unit conversions as well as scale factor. So what do we do if we want to convert from a meter cubed to a centimeter cubed? How does that affect things? Or what if we need to go, if I'm enlarging something? And what do we do in those if it's enlarging just one measurement to another length, or what if we're doing enlarging something as a volume? Does that change our scale factor? So here we have 3 methods that we can use to convert. One is using the SI chart, the metric chart. So that's like our kilograms, meters, and so on. And we use the number line. Remember, moving to the left and the right. Proportional reasoning, which is basically using ratios. And unit analysis. So we're going to just do a basic review. So let's start with the chart. And your chart is here in front of you. Okay, so just scrolling down. Oh, my scroll is over here. Let's just move it. Okay. So here's our metric chart, especially the one right here. And there's a few things added, right? Most of you know our kilo. This is, it says, remember King Henry's daughter Mary died chasing men. So you will have this on your formula sheet. So kilo, these are and then we have hecto, deca. Here's our base unit, which is usually, or it's going to be one of the 3 meters, liters, or grams are our base unit. And then we have deci, so like decimeters or deciliters, centi, milli. This weird one on the end here, you've seen this one in science, and that's a micrometer, and then last one, nano. So you'll notice that it's nano mean 9, it's 9 away, 9 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 away from the meter. So that's 9 times smaller. 9 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, 9 times. So it's bigger than 9. It's 10 to the 9th time smaller. So when we use that chart, we can use it to remember if we go from a small unit to a big unit. So we're moving to the left, small to big. So the number going to get smaller or bigger. So small unit to big unit, the number gets smaller. So each time we're dividing by 10. Right, 10 spaces, the number gets smaller. And if we're going the other direction, from a big unit to a small, big to small, we're timesing by 10 each time. So it's going to get bigger. The number will get bigger. Review from last year, here's some of the SI to imperial conversion charts. And so we can use those charts to answer our questions. So let's go to the next page and look at some examples. Okay, so here it says, for example, to convert kilometers to centimeters, we move 5 positions to the right. So it helps to have that number line available. And I usually will draw it on the board. So since I'm not going to do that, I'll just draw it here, just below. And so we have our meters in the middle. That's our base unit. And then usually I start with king. So king, kilometers. Henry, hectometers. Daughter, that's our deca, D-A-M. So King Henry's daughter Mary, that's our base unit, so meters. Died, here's our decimeters. Chasing, centimeters. Men, millimeters. Okay, so notice how in that example they went from kilometers to centimeters. And so they start at kilometers, and it's 1, 2, 3, oops, there's nothing there. I made a big jump there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the left. And so 5 to the left, they just move the right. I know my left's from right. So 5 to the right, and there you go. And so then we just move the decimal place, and you have your conversion. The other way we can do it, so remove those, is if we figure out, okay, how many what's the relationship or the ratio for centimeters to kilometers? And so we put a 1 over the large unit and keep adding zeros over the other ones. And so then that tells me that there are going to be 100,000 centimeters in every 1 kilometer. Remember, it's a larger number when we go from a small to big. Okay, so I'm going to show you both. Let's start by going through with ratios. It's a little bit different than before. So if I want to convert how many meters to a centimeter, so use the metric line to convert meters to centimeters. Okay, so here's our metric line that I have above. It's not the greatest. Things should be spaced evenly. 1, 2, 3. Let's move that meters over a bit. There we go, meters, decimeters, centimeters, millimeters. Okay, so there's our line. And so you always want to have that handy. So meters to centimeters. So let's use which way we need to move. So we're starting at meters. So I'm starting at meters, and I want to go towards centimeters. So 1, 2 to the right. So we're going to move 2 decimal places right. So if my decimal place is here, because we had 1, 1, 2, we just fill in zeros in those places. So that'd be 100 centimeters is 1 meter. So 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. So same idea. Our base unit doesn't have to be meters. It could also be liters. So kiloliters, hectoliters, decaliters, liters, deciliters, centiliters, and milliliters. So often we don't use anything other than liters and milliliters, but still we can use that as a measurement. It does exist. So liters to milliliters is more common though. So liters to milliliters. 1, 2, 3 to the right. And so we're just going to move our decimal place 3 to the right. So here it is, 2.3, 1, 2, 3. And add in our zeros. So that means that 2.3 liters is equal to 2,300 milliliters. So 750 centimeters to meters. So centimeters, I'm starting over here, and we're going to move towards meters. 1, 2 to the left. So I can just take my decimal point, which is after the 0, 1, 2. So 7.5 meters is 750 centimeters. The last one, milligrams to grams. Again, your base unit can be grams. So it's just like doing millimeters to kilometers. So we're going from the milli to the kilo actually. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left. So we take our decimal place. It's right here. Always after it's invisible if we don't need it, right? After the 0 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have to add in a 0. And instead of going 0.0, it's always better to go 0 decimal 0. 0 decimal 0, 7, 2, 3, 5. And we don't have to have that last 0. We're not worrying about things like significant digits right now. So there you go. 0.07235 kilograms. And that's it. So that's what's nice about metric. The number line is very easy to use. We can also use proportional reasoning to convert. Okay, and so that's using a ratio. So let's go through this example here, and I'll show you how to set up a ratio. Sideshow Collectibles is considering making a statue of a dinosaur. They're considering a scale whereby 1 centimeter represents 2.1 feet. So there's my first ratio, right? These are equivalent to each other. 1 centimeter represents 2.1 feet. The height of the statue of the dinosaur will be 12.5 centimeters. What is the actual height of the dinosaur? So we can just set it up. They tell us that 1 centimeter is 2.1 feet. So that's one ratio. And we're going to set that equal to, so notice the units have to line up. So if I have centimeters on top, I have to have centimeters on top. It's my other ratio. If I have feet on the bottom, feet has to be on the bottom. So we look at their information that they gave us. They told us that the height of a statue of the dinosaur will be 12.5 centimeters. So I fill that in. Well, do we know what the actual height is in feet? No, that's our unknown, so I'm going to give that an x. And then from there, we just cross multiply. And this even works with unit conversions. So cross multiply. So 1 times x is just going to be 1x, or x, equals. And then 2.1 times 12.5. So if you have your calculators, 2.1 times 12.5. And what you have to remember is your units, right? So what units were we looking for? It was 26.25. And the unit we were looking for was feet. And so last is you should write a sentence whenever it's a word problem. Dinosaur was 26.25 feet. Dinosaur. Okay, so let's do an example with proportional reasoning for just converting a standard. 0.05 miles to inches. So right now I need to find out, okay, well, what is the relationship for miles and inches? And that's where your formula sheet is going to be great, because it's on your formula sheet. Or is it? So your formula sheet, let's just go back to the first page here. I believe there's no conversion from miles to inches. Let's look here. So miles, we have miles to yards, we have miles to kilometers. Well, that's going metric. So the only thing I could do here, and miles to feet. So we either have to change our miles first to yards or to feet. So I'm going to choose feet. This is the ratio I'm going to start to work with. 1 mile is 5,280 feet. So going back, 1 mile is 5,280 feet. So I'm going to write that ratio. 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. And so what did they give me? They give me miles has to line up with miles and feet with feet. So I'm only going to be able to find the number of feet first before I can find inches. So they tell me that we know our distance is 0.05 miles. And we don't know our feet right now, so we're going to call that x. And so from there, we just cross multiply. So 1 times x is going to be x equals, or x feet. And now we multiply those two. 5,280 times 0.05. So 5,280 times 0.05 gives us 264. Now what unit is that? What was our unknown? Our unknown was feet. So now we can use that same thing. Now we want to go from feet to inches. Right? We have feet, we still want inches. So I go back, and it's on your formula sheet. Also, if you could turn the page, previous page, feet to inches, what's the ratio? Well, feet to inches, 1 foot is 12 inches. So we're going to write that ratio down. 1 foot, 12 inches. So going back, 1 foot over 12 inches. 1 foot is 12 inches equals, so now that's the given ratio. Now we fill in our information. What do we know? Remember, first line depth, feet, inches. We know that we have 264 feet. We just found that out. That is going to go in here. Our new one, 264. And we're looking for inches, so instead of x, I'm going to use y. And we cross multiply. So 1 times y is just y. And 12 times 264, so your calculator. 12 times 264, or your answer times 12, is 3,168. And what's the unit we were looking for? Inches. So there's our solution. So that's using ratios. So you did that in junior high. You can still do that if you like. And the other I'm going to show you is unit analysis. And unit analysis is what you use in sciences. And so we try and really emphasize that in Edmonton Christian. Okay, so unit analysis is all about getting our units to cancel. So in this very basic example here, we're going to multiply by given ratios. Ratios that are on our formula sheet or that we figure out, right? 1,000 meters is equal to 1 kilometer. So essentially, it's like you're multiplying by 1, because those are the same thing, and anything divided by itself is 1. And what happens here is when you have a kilometer on the numerator and a kilometer on the bottom, the units reduce out. So the kilometers reduce out, and then the meters are reducing out, and so we're converting from kilometers to millimeters. And that's the great thing with unit analysis. We can do it all at once instead of in steps. So in that last example of 0.05 miles to inches, instead of going through all those 2 different steps, we can do it all at once. So we start by writing what they give us, 0.05 miles. And just to review, remember, MI is miles and M is meters. Don't confuse the two. Sometimes students have a tendency to write M for miles, but it's MI is the unit. Okay, so we're going to multiply. So I want to get rid of miles. I want it to cancel out. It's on the numerator, so I'm going to put that on the denominator. And I want to convert to inches. So I go and I look up the ratio, and I go, okay, going back, is there a miles to inches? And again, we're going to find, let's go back 2 pages, miles to inches, here we go. There's miles to feet, miles to yards. So no. So I'll again use the miles to feet. That's the only place I can go. One of these 2 places, but not straight to inches. So I'm going to go miles to feet to start. So miles to feet. And what was that ratio? Well, it said 1 mile is 5,280 feet. And so this way, when they multiply, the unit of miles are going to cancel out. So we're almost there. If we just left it like this and multiplied, we get feet. But we don't want feet. We want inches. Inches is what we want. We want feet to cancel, so we put it on the bottom. 1 on the numerator, 1 on the denominator. And then we look up the unit conversion. In 1 foot, how many inches is that? 1 feet are the bigger unit. We can look at our chart, and there's 12 inches in a foot. Most of you will know that. And again, that feet unit is going to reduce out. So we're going to, once we multiply all this, we're just left with inches. If everything cancels, we are good. It's also a good way to check your work. So we can multiply straight across. So 0.05 times, you can write 5,280. You can write divided by 1. You don't have to, because when you divide by 1, it's just itself. Then times 12 over 1, or just times 12. And there's 3,168. And that's what we had last time, inches. Okay, so that is using unit analysis. Convert 0.05 miles to inches using unit analysis and show the calculations. I think I should have put this down here. I'm sorry, I did not read the first part properly. It said, what conversions will the student need to consider to solve the problem? And we had to go miles to feet. Maybe I'll do an arrow. Miles to feet. And then we could go feet to inches. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, example number 5. A physics student was required to convert an answer of 775 meters per second to kilometers per minute. What conversions will the students need to consider to solve this problem using analysis? Well, there's 2 things, right? 1, our meters have to go to kilometers. And the second part, the seconds have to change to minutes. Convert the student's answer to using unit analysis. So let's write this out. So 75 meters per second. So instead of writing 75 meters per second, I'm going to write 75 meters over 1 second. So that's 75 meters for every 1 second. It's the same thing. So now we have a nice ratio. So it doesn't matter which one we convert. We can do the meters to kilometers or seconds to minutes. Let's follow the same order that we wrote above, meters to kilometers. So I want to convert this meters first. And if meters are on the top, we're going to put meters on the bottom. We want the units to cancel. That means the kilometers go on top. You have to put the same base units together. You can't mix meters and minutes together. The same distance has to go together. So we figure out, okay, how many meters are in a kilometer? And that's where we can use our good old chart. King Henry's daughter Mary died chasing men. So King Henry's daughter, let's just write what we need to. Well, we put a 1 over the bigger unit, which is kilometers, and then add in the zeros. That's 1,000 meters for every 1 kilometer. 1,000 of the small and 1 of the big. So 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters, and some of you already knew that. So that takes care of the meters unit. We're good there. Now we need to do our seconds to minutes. So right now, seconds is on the bottom, and so seconds has to be on the top. And we want to go to minutes, so the only place left is on the bottom, which is good. We want kilometers per minute. So we want minutes on the bottom. So you should know this ratio. What's the ratio between seconds and minutes? Well, what's the bigger one? The bigger one's minutes. So 1 minute is 60 seconds. And there we go. Here you'll have seconds reduce out, and we're going to be left with kilometers per minute. So grabbing your calculator, we have 75 times 1, or you can write 75 over 1 if you'd like to be safe, times 1 over 1,000. You have to put that 1 in there if it's on the numerator and there's a bigger or different number on the bottom other than 1, times 60 over 1. I'll just show you another way to type this in. So 4.5. Another way is you could go 75, dividing or times it by 1 over 1,000 is the same thing as dividing by 1,000. So divide by 1,000 and then times 60. That's another way you can write it, 4.5. So 4.5, make sure you have your units. We have now kilometers per minute. Okay, so that's the first part of the lesson. So we're going to leave it at that. And homework is 1 to 6 and number 13.